All right.
Okay, we're on. Okay. Good morning, everyone. We're just a few minutes early here. Got lots and lots to share with you today for our final Tech Tuesday for the wrap up of the summer. I'm going to get the Facebook Live ready. So that those of you that are with us on Zoom, we're also going to stream live on the Remax INTEGRA US Facebook page. Woohoo! So let us know where you are tuning in from. We've got Bart and Matthew that are excited to share a lot with you today, and they can see your comments and your chat. And so tell us where you're coming from. They're usually from all over the country, guys.
Just please tell them not to say anything that might hurt my feelings. I'm very sensitive. And Matthew even more so.
Okay, good to know. Put that on your Remax bio block on your website. So today, everyone, we're going to talk online lead response. Never-ending discussion. So I'm getting this ready. Anyone chatting you up yet, Bart and Matthew?
Let's see, chat. Okay, there's one.
No.
Somebody from Prior Lake, somebody from, oh, see, that's the problem when you almost hit 50 years old, you can't see crap. Sacramento, California. Woohoo! Prior Lake, Minnesota. Is that where you dragged me off to, Michelle, I don't know, however many years ago.
That was Lake Minnetonka, but close. Prior Lake is just as nice. It's beautiful. All right, I'm getting this description ready so we can go live on Facebook too. Hello, everyone. Come on in, grab some coffee. We're about ready to get started. All right. And we are going live on Facebook right now. Countdown is on. And we should be good to go here. All right. Well, good morning, everyone in our Zoom audience, as well as Facebook Live. Thanks for joining us, everyone. I always like to tune in on Facebook Live on my phone so I can keep track of those questions and comments as they come in. So that's always a good thing. So let me pull that up really quick here and we'll get going. So let's go to the INTEGRA page. There we go. We are live. According to my computer, we're live. Let's see where we are. Well, according to this, it says we're live on Facebook. I'll pull that up here in just a second. All right. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our last Tech Tuesday installment for this spring/summer series. We're going to take a break for the summer. We'll be back in the fall. So I'm kind of sad about that. It's been a really fun run. Lots of great topics that are happening out there in the world. And I've had some incredible Remaxers that have joined me over the course of the last several weeks. So I can't thank them enough. You should be thanking them because they're taking time out of their business. Today is June 30th, and I can't thank these two enough for joining me. Look, I know it's the last day of the month. I know CE is due in some of your markets. I know that there's a lot of closings happening today, including with these two individuals that are with us today. So we're gonna make sure that we give them a big round of applause when all is said and done. Before we get started, and before I have our guests introduce themselves, my name is Michelle Hoyt, and I am a regional trainer for Remax INTEGRA, which is an independent region of Remax. I know a lot of you are joining us from all over the country, so we welcome you. Remax is one big family. And we also have, so I want to give a special shout out to the Remax INTEGRA folks in New England, Midwest, and all of our new friends in California, Texas, Florida, and all over the company-owned regions. So we really appreciate you being here with us. So we are talking online lead response today, and I'm super excited to have these two on with us. Before we get going though, we do want to hear from you. So Bart and Matthew want to hear from you. They want to hear your questions. They're here to share with you for the next hour. And so take note of the Q&A box and the chat box for those of you that are on Zoom. For those of you on Facebook, please feel free to comment. I will do my best to keep an eye on those also. This is being recorded. It will be posted on the Remax INTEGRA US YouTube channel, along with all the other videos that happen in this series. So let's go ahead and get started. We're going to have our very special guests introduce themselves, tell us about themselves, how long they've been with Remax, and their background. So let's start with you, Bart.
Hey guys, my name is Bart Medlock. I have been with Remax since 2005 in the Southern Indiana, Greater Louisville, Kentucky markets. My background before that was in the restaurant bar business. When I got a real estate license, I also did a little bit of stuff in the mortgage industry before I decided how much I hated that business, and then went exclusively with real estate and joined Remax and really haven't looked back. So
awesome. Thank you. Matthew, tell everyone about yourself.
My name is Matthew Henegar. I'm with Remax First. I've been licensed since December 2017. So my CE is not due, thankfully. I skated by there. But I've been with Remax and under Bart since I started. So it's 2.5 years. Before that, I fixed homes for the state of Indiana, and I bartended for a long time. So all kind of comparable, I guess, businesses. But
and the kid
killing
it. Let me add that the kid is really killing it. So
he's killing it. And Matthew's a musician too. Don't be shy. Tell us about that.
I like to play music. Yeah. You know, I used to play out. I lived in Nashville for like 3.5 years. I thought I was going to be famous, but that didn't happen. I just partied a lot and kind of wrecked my life a little bit, but here we are.
Onward and upward. All right. Well, I appreciate that. Can you both share really quick what your why was? Like what, more importantly, you told us a little bit about how you got into real estate, but what is your why today? What gets you up every morning and doing what you do and juggling it all? So we'll start with you, Bart.
Well, I have a wife and 2 kids, and I want to retire at some point in time. Basically, when I got out of the bar business, you know, when I made the decision to get into real estate, I was considering some different options. I love to cook. So I was considering going back to culinary school. I'd spent a brief time in culinary school. But, you know, looking at what the top pay was in that industry for, you know, even somebody at executive chef level or owning your own restaurant, you know, and the demands as far as time is concerned within that industry, not that you don't have obviously a lot of time demands within real estate, but real estate's a little bit more flexible than if you're going to own a restaurant or work in a restaurant. And plus you know, you were going to cap out, if you will, as far as your income. Real estate, on the other hand, maybe a little bit more risk involved in real estate versus going to school to become a chef and then going to work for another restaurant. But, you know, there's not really any income cap per se in real estate. And my grandfather had told me at one point in time, you know, you may want to consider getting into real estate. He had passed away by the time I got into real estate, but nevertheless, that was kind of what drove me. And now today, what I guess gets me, I mean, I really, for the most part, I enjoy what I do. I just closed with some past clients who I'd sold their house in Louisville back in 2010 or 11. They had relocated to Michigan, relocated to Ohio, and then were coming back to the Lexington, Kentucky area. And they called me and said, hey, we don't know. And I'd never worked in Lexington, but I'm licensed, and our MLS has recently merged as far as Louisville and Lexington. So I had the MLS available. And I said, hey, let's do it. You know, it was one of those corporate referrals where it was a 40% referral fee that we all hate. But it was good people, and I knew, you know, working with them. And so working with people like that, I really enjoy. And that's the vast majority of the business. My kids, you know, it affords us to live the kind of life that, you know, provide for my family the way I want to provide. And I mean, I enjoy it. I would say 90% of real estate I enjoy. It's very demanding. It can be very stressful, but, you know, I like it. I really like it. Enjoy working with first-time home buyers. So I don't want to take up the whole hour talking about all that, and I certainly could. So Matthew, go ahead.
My turn.
Matthew, tell us what you love about real estate and love about Remax and Bart, because he's an awesome partner in crime there. So tell us about everything.
Well, whenever I got into real estate, I interviewed with all the major brokerages because that's what Bart encouraged me to do. And the last one was Remax. And I sat down with Bart and I sat down with Bill and I talked to them and I just knew I was in the right spot. So really those two individuals are the reason why, mostly Bart, but I really like my broker too, are the reasons why I stay there. But then the brand recognition and just I guess the culture or whatever. I'm a huge fan of Remax. My why, before I did this, like I said, I fixed homes, right? For the state of Indiana, I did weatherization. So I went into lower income families' houses. I made them more energy efficient. So I spent a vast majority of my work life, which is what I did most of the time, either in a crawl space or in an attic at all times of the year. In an attic in the middle of July, in a crawl space in January, right? And it was miserable. And like I had went to college and, you know, I have an associate's degree, which, you know, doesn't do anything for me really. But my mother had said to me, you know, why don't you get into real estate? And at the time I was like, you know, they don't make any money and that sounds lame. But she said, you know, if you go, I'll pay for it. You can pay me back. So I did it. And I learned that you can make a good living selling homes. And so my why today is I never want to have to go back to doing what I was doing before I did this, right? Like this industry is, and this career is extremely gratifying. Like I get to help people with the biggest biggest emotional, mental, and financial transaction that they're going to have through the course of their entire life until they do it again. So, and I get to play a major integral role of that. And it's super gratifying because you get to legitimately change the life of somebody, like legitimately. Like their quality of living is legitimately changed by, you know, your actions and your knowledge. And Bart has taught me, you know, the value of coming from the aspect and the position of being a service. And that's what he does. And that's what I've learned from him to do. So I'm really grateful for.
Well, that sounds good. So Bart, can you share with everyone how you're structured? Are you structured as a team with Matthew? Can you share with everyone how that works?
Loosely. Yeah. We don't, you know, I'm not a fan of rigidity. I'm not a huge fan of organization, quite frankly. Now Kim, my administrative assistant, she tells me that I'm organized. You know, I certainly don't feel organized because I don't know. I'm very in the moment. I feel like Matthew and I have a general working agreement, if you will, but that's founded on trust. So the primary thing with he and I, we had a relationship that was built on trust before he even got into real estate. And so our situation is different than the vast majority of people are going to run into. And I questioned, you know, in the beginning, whether it was going to, you know, but it was just kind of like, and we both have a relationship with a higher power, call it God, whatever you want to call it. And so long story short, trust was already established. And so that was critical. Like Matthew knows, like he kind of alluded to, you know, when he first approached me, I'm like, look, dude, I want you to find out all the options that are out there, because I don't want you just to come with me because we have this prior relationship and because we're buddies or whatever. I want you to find out, because whatever you end up doing, I want you to do whatever is best for you. And Matthew knows that that's still true today. He knows if he can find something better somewhere else, I truly, as on a human level, want that for him. And so that's kind of where we are. So as far as, you know, we have realtor.com leads, which he exclusively works the realtor.com leads that I pay for because he does a much better job with those than what I do. You know, our other agreement is, you know, fair. When we started out, it was predicated upon, you know, a certain number of transactions, like from 1 to 10, and then from 11 to 20, and from 21 to 30. And, you know, so, I mean, long story short, it's got to be a win-win all the way around. Some of the other models that I had seen before, when I looked at them, I'm like, well, that looks great for the team leader, but it's like it's set up to fail almost, in my opinion, where, you know, you're going to bring these people in and yeah, while they're training, you're going to get them up to a certain point, but at some point they're going to figure out that, do I really need this guy as much as I think I do? And, you know, so anyway, it's gotta be a win-win all the way around, and it's gotta be fair. And, you know, and really the model that I adopted, I guess, if you will, kind of comes from the philosophy of what I've gained from Remax, Dave Henegar, and then my broker, Bill Burns. You got to take care of the goose that lays the golden egg, so to speak. So I don't think you're ever going to go wrong if you err on doing what is in the best interest of the person you're serving. I believe, you know, he looks at his role as broker as, you know, he is of service. What can he do to make things better for his agents? Not what can he do better to make it better for himself, but what can he do better to make it better for his agents? And I believe Bill comes from, and I believe that's the whole principle that Remax was founded on is, hey, you know, let's be of service to the agent who's the one, you know, really who's the goose laying the golden egg, and let's see what happens. And so that's kind of, I don't know, that's kind of where things come from, or what our agreement is founded on, I guess, if you will.
Well, I like how you said you're not a fan of rigidity, because that's the key in real estate. You've got to be in the moment. So that's absolutely fantastic. And I think for the broker owners and managers that are watching this, a lot of you take that same approach that Bart does with Matthew. You become a mentor. You always want the best for them. So what a great approach. And that's awesome. So I applaud you for that. So just as a quick side note, and we're going to jump really deep into the online leads, everyone, but I want to know from Bart and Matthew both, what are your big takeaways, if it's just one, that's fine, from the pandemic and doing real estate during that time? So we'll start with you, Matthew.
The big takeaway for me is that no matter the situation, you can always sell. There's always going to be somebody who's looking to buy or sell. You just have to find them. And it might take being a little bit more creative or working a little bit harder. But, and that kind of leads into like any kind of shift in the market or any change in the market. It doesn't matter. Every day a closing is going to happen. Every day somebody's going to buy or sell. And I really think a lot of it comes down to your mental, what you tell yourself. So if I told myself that I looked at this pandemic as an opportunity to rise above, and I was successful through it. So
Thank you. Congrats. Bart, how about you?
You know, when I read that, I was like, there's a line from a Grateful Dead song. We may be going to hell in a bucket, baby, but at least I'm enjoying the ride. So, you know, when this whole thing first started, I think a lot of the fear of the unknown, and myself included, you know, the fear of the unknown. Oh my God, you know, hey, how's this going to shake out? What's going to happen? And I mean, so there was hell, I did online grocery shopping, and had my groceries delivered because I was terrified of going in a grocery store. And today I'm not, you know, I don't plan on hanging out in grocery stores. I'll go in with a mask today. But, you know, my takeaway, and the other thing, and sitting here thinking about it, what I can tell you is my experience on the ground, out in public, out interacting with people, and like living my daily life in reality, that experience, you know, what I would consider, I guess, quote unquote, normal, if you will, is a hell of a lot more friendly and congenial and pleasant than the reality of what's going on online, social media, the news, like all of the hate, or a lot of the hate and the negativity and the unrest and all of that I see, you know, on the news and social media. Now there's, granted, I'm not saying it's not going on, because it certainly is. I mean, we've got some terrible things that have occurred here in downtown Louisville, Kentucky, you know, some awful things, but by and large, I'm really grateful that it's not even remotely close to as bad as what I perceive to see on social media. So, I don't know, man. I don't know. All I know is one day at a time, one step at a time. I'm going out and trying to practice the golden rule, do unto others, and trying to be part of the solution and part of the problem. So I don't know.
Well said.
Pandemic is what it is. So we'll rock and roll with it and see what happens.
All right. So that leads us into this next question, especially for you, Bart. So when you first got in the business around 05, fast forward 15 years. So by the way, happy 15th anniversary with Remax. So, and we're going back to your Remax days. I know you've been in real estate a little bit longer, but talk to us about what it was like, not only generating leads, but managing and responding to leads in 05 versus what it's like today. So if you can, from a high level.
Well, Michelle, if I make it to September, I'll be 50 years old, and my memory is not so great, but what I do remember is the first 3 years that I was in the real estate and mortgage business at the time. It was primarily through my sphere that I was sending out a newsletter, online was, just barely in its infancy. The internet was there, but it certainly wasn't anything remotely close to what it is today. And, online leads were not, I don't even remember there being much of such a thing as online leads. So back then it was primarily, your sphere. And I think a lot of my business was generated through open houses and whatnot, and meeting people through open houses. And doing it really kind of, probably in hindsight, doing it the hard way, because I was doing it on my own versus finding, but then again, teams weren't a big thing back then. Mm-hmm. So, I was doing it like most of us did it back then. I was just doing it on my own. 2005, I decided to get out of the mortgage business completely. And I talked with a friend of mine who I'd known for several years, who was with Remax at the time. And sat down with her, because she was with Remax. We had a conversation, and she said, yeah, why don't she said, you'd be a great fit. And so I joined Remax and really haven't looked back. And, the way I look at it, having the Remax name behind my name at that time in particular, and still today, there's just a certain degree of respect, brand awareness, and credibility that comes with the Remax brand that is, undeniable. And in my opinion is there's no other brand that is even remotely close to the brand awareness, recognition, respect that Remax. I don't know who you would argue for, unless you were trying to argue for, what's best for I'm talking, from a high level public perception. I'm not talking about within the real estate industry and who offers what better agreement and blah, 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 and all that. I'm talking about from the public perception level. There's no other brand that compares to Remax, and you just can't argue that, in my opinion. So.
Oh, thank you very much. Appreciate that. All right. So we're going to talk to both of you on this one. So you mentioned realtor.com as one of your lead sources. What would you say are your top 3 lead sources? And you can each answer this with your own top 3. Talk to us a little bit about what your top 3 lead sources are, and approximately what your spend is on a yearly basis. So actually, let's start with you, Matthew.
My spend on a yearly basis is $0.
Love it.
And that's, Bart pays for it.
Yeah.
So that's kind of, for any new agent, that's kind of the incentive with joining a team and not doing it on your own. Me and Bart have an arrangement that is a lot more beneficial to me than I see a lot of other team structures, but my spend is $0. Was that the only question?
So Matthew's being a little modest. So the reason he said 0, which a lot of you could answer the same way, is because he does a lot on social media to promote.
My top 3 lead sources. That's correct. So, and that's not including sphere of influence of any of that, because everyone's going to say that. So realtor.com, OpCity, and then social media probably.
Okay, for sure. And what's your main platform that you use in social media?
I probably get the most engagement on Facebook. Second would be Instagram. but I explore all the major ones. TikTok is a good one, especially for this business. If you're not on TikTok, get on TikTok.
Well, I can assure you, and myself included, a lot of your peers watching right now don't know a whole lot about TikTok, or they know it exists, and that it may not necessarily be just for creating funny videos where you swap clothes with someone standing next to you, or those type of filters. I mean, just as a quick 30-second, what do you do on TikTok for real estate?
Think about TikTok as a 60-second video editing platform that is extremely easy to use and shareable to all of your, all of the social media platforms, right? As far as video editing, and then you can overlay music. And that's just to showcase houses, but you can also do it for a bunch of stuff. I'll show you later on the thing if you want.
Yep, we'll have Matthew share a screen, which will be good. So, all right, Bart, besides realtor.com, where are your other leads coming from?
Well, you know, without question, the vast majority of my leads are past.
Yeah.
For people within my sphere, telling other people. I mean, I've got an appointment later today with the lady, who the window guy, who I don't even know. He knows about me from somebody who I sold a house for. And this window guy, and this isn't the first time I've gotten this call. This guy who I don't even know is saying, "Look, you got to call this guy." And so, you know, stuff like that's really cool. You know, having it now. And you know what? I just closed a deal 2 weeks ago that I know. When I showed up, I was like, "Hey, how'd you hear about me?" He said, "Well, I've seen your SUV driving around town because I've got a wrap around the Escalade that the wife drives, and so I can directly, and that's really inexpensive advertising. So if you've got an SUV, you definitely should have it wrapped, you know. But the vast majority, I mean, 90% of what is generated is past clients, client referrals. Realtor.com would be the secondary. I have recently signed up at the beginning of this year for the Sync platform, and Sync has generated, you know, I have failed with the Sync platform simply because, and now Matthew, he can speak to a little bit more about what his experience is. The quality of the Sync leads aren't as good as the Realtor.com leads, but the volume comes. And also now we knew going in that the sales cycle with the Sync leads was probably going to be a little bit longer than what it is with Realtor.com, but it does generate.
Can you share what Sync is, what the acronym stands for?
Yeah, Commissions Inc.
Commissions, okay.
Yeah, I did a fair amount of research before I went with Sync. I mean, I looked at Real Geek, Sierra Interactive, Brevity. Oh my God, there's one that begins with a P. There is so many of them out there that it'll make your head spin. And Sync was the most expensive, but also, you know, I believe if I had the time, like right now, I'm looking to bring in somebody to do some online. I'm also looking at doing a lender co-op because I'm spending about $1,000 a month on Sync leads. And I'm spending, I think, $800 a month, $700 or $800 a month on Realtor.com leads. I do Sensations, that's Sensations. They're automated, they're postcard mailing that goes out. I spend probably $300 or $400 a month on that. Then I have recently, I'm farming my own neighborhood. Duh. I mean, that's like, duh. Why would you not already be farming your own neighborhood? But, you know, my SUV drives around this neighborhood. It's like, you're an idiot. Why aren't you? And it's really cost effective because it's less than $100 a month to send out, you know, I think 220 postcards a month to all my neighbors with this. And that's through Quantum Digital, I believe. Okay. So, you know, I guess monthly, somewhere in the neighborhood of $2,500 to $3,000. And that's, you know, I do other stuff. Like I sponsor Little League teams and, you know, do stuff like that. It's very rare that I'll get a request from a travel baseball team or a school organization. You know, we get those requests relatively regularly. And I don't think I ever say no to those, you know, $50 or $100 or $200 donation requests. Just because that's, to me, that's part of being a good community citizen, if you will.
For sure. Well, Matthew, I'm able to pull up TikTok on my phone and show everyone your is it called a channel? Is it just called a, what is it called on TikTok? Because I'm learning right along with everyone else. It's just it's your profile.
I don't know. I have no idea.
Hey, Michelle, let me interject this real quick. If you guys are not following this kid on, like, you really need to check him out on Facebook, because some of the graphics that he does, he needs to do some training for his buddy, for me. But he's got some great, my screen just went, but he's got some great stuff on there that I would strongly recommend you check out what he has going on. And also, I didn't mention Facebook because I think of Facebook more passive, because it don't get, you know, it's not like people call me and say, hey, I saw you on Facebook. No, they just call me and say, hey, you know, we're ready to sell our house. Now, there's a good chance they've been watching my Facebook posts, and that's what helps keep me top of mind with those people, is that they see me on, and same thing with Matthew, that they see us on Facebook. In particular, he does Instagram. Facebook's really, I do some stuff on Twitter that is automated to Twitter as far as when my listings go active. But Facebook is
All right,
media channel, if you will. I've got a YouTube channel too.
Yeah. Thank you. Let me see if I can cue one of these up. Let me know that you can hear this.
Do the real estate vigilante one.
All right.
Do the real estate vigilante one. If you can.
Sometimes this doesn't work when I'm reflecting, so let's try this one. Here we go.
In a world gone crazy with COVID-19,
Not working.
I think
one
it's
real
frozen.
estate agent will take matters into his own hands.
Okay. For some reason, it's not working as we're reflecting my phone, so I apologize. I'm not sure.
In a world gone crazy
We'll
with
listen to
COVID-19, one real estate agent will take matters into his own hands to not only stop the spread of the virus, but to kick its ass.
You can't see it, but it's funny. You can't see it.
Can't see it. So it's slightly delayed. Sorry about that, everyone. I think it's this app that I used. There you go.
Hey, there's me flossing though. That's neat.
That's right. So his profile name is the Fittest Realtor on TikTok. And then we'll let you pull up your Instagram account yourself. So I just wanted to try to get that to work, but we won't take any more time with that.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about, so thanks for sharing all that. What type of lead responses work best for you? Is it text? Is it email? What do you do with those infamous leads that have no phone numbers? So if you could share with us, we'll start with you, Bart, on this one. What's really been working for you? And also, do you use video?
You know, I brought this handy dandy little thing, okay, because I have tried, this is a dry erase board. I've even got the little Remax balloon on here, okay? So I've tried the whole video text thing, because I mean, in theory, I like the idea. You know, there's so much communication that takes place, you know, face to face, or, you know, from a face video, the unspoken, if you will, communication, facial expressions and all that. So, I mean, I get the idea. But it's kind of time consuming and cumbersome, because I mean, you know, the key in lead response is being fast. So this isn't exactly, you know, I can't like be at a stoplight and like do this, you know, I mean, it's just not practical for certain situations. And I've tried it and I haven't found, text is probably my primary. When I'm responding to a lead, I'm probably going to go with text, and I'm going to try and keep it. Now the sync leads, I do have an automated deal with the sync leads that, that tries to just simply get them to respond, to ask a question, or just to engage them in any way, shape, or form. And I've had some success with that, but again, my downfall is my follow-up with that after that initial engagement, because I'm not real good at the follow-up after that, fail at it miserably. You know, Matthew is probably a better one, and I think has had more success than I have to address what works, because he's kind of, I think he does really well with the realtor.com lead. So let's let him tell you what he's found to be best practices, if you will.
Okay, Matthew, please share.
Well, it's basically what Bart says. You got to be first, because a lot of those leads are shared leads, so they're going to multiple agents. So the first one who gets it is the one that gets it. So as soon, it's like a conditioned thing. Once I see my phone buzz or ring or something, I instantly look at it. It's a lead. I immediately pick up the phone and I call them. If they don't answer, I'll leave a message and then I hang up and I immediately get it, and then I immediately text them. I mean, and this all happens in, my response time is 1 second probably. So whoever gets it first. And I want to kind of piggyback off what Bart says with the video stuff and stuff like that. I think it's a good idea in theory. But Bart taught me this, like, to not really muddy the water. Use whatever works, use that, and don't try to overcomplicate it so much. Like, set the appointment, get the people in the house, meet the person at the house, get them there. Like, they don't want to talk to you. They want to see a house, right? They don't want to hear whatever it is that you got to say. They want to see the house. Get them in the house. And then once you get them in the house, then you can build from there. But
Sure. And any success for either one of you recently with a lead that doesn't have a phone number? Okay. So no success there. All right. Or ultimately, hopefully you get it. So, all right, that sounds good. Well, thanks for that. If you had to estimate, how many times on average would you reach out, do you reach out to an online lead that just came in, not necessarily a referral or anything else, but an online lead? On average, how many times do you reach out before you actually get a response from that client? If you could just ballpark it. We'll start with you, Bart. We'll start with Matthew.
Look, they get one shot to work with me. Okay. If they don't respond, then it's their freaking loss. So, because I'm a busy guy, it's funny because I will tell my listing appointments. I will let them know, particularly if I'm in a competing offer, if they're interviewing multiple agents, I'm like, look, hey, you guys, look, I want to work with you. I hope that you pick me as your agent.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to bother you. I am not going to hound you. That's not my style. I can't stand those kind of people. Mm-hmm. So I'm not that kind of person. That works for some people. I get it, man. There are some people that are constantly in the follow-up and the follow-up and the follow-up and the hounding them and the beating them over the head until you force them into submission, and damn it, they're going to work with me. But no, that's just not my style. So seriously, it's like, hey, you want to work with me? I'd love to help you, but I'm not going to force myself on you. So.
And that's well said. And that's the thing. There are no right or wrong answers on any of these sessions we've done. These are just new ways to look at it, new approaches. And if whatever you're doing isn't working for you, it's giving you ideas on new things that you can try, for sure. So Matthew, any more comments on that one?
Yeah. So somebody told me this when I first started: don't chase, replace. I'm pretty opportunistic. But if somebody doesn't want to, there's too many people out there that want to buy or sell a house to waste time on somebody who doesn't, right? There's plenty of people out there, and my job is just to find that person. So there's a huge difference between a lead and a client. So it's siphoning through all of that to get to the client. And I think it gets easier with time. Did I answer the question?
Yes, you did. And I'm just curious, this wasn't on your list of questions I sent you, but any tips for your peers on really quick qualifying? Because time is very important for you and for them. And when this person comes in, you know nothing about them. So what is your typical 2 or 3 things you do to qualify them right away? Bart?
Well, I will ask them questions generally about their situation, but Michelle, that's really a case-by-case scenario that is dictated in the moment. My interactions with people is very authentic. Again, it's not rigid at all. So I don't have some predefined scripts in my head about when something comes in. Now, very well, if now that I've said that, it's quite possible that if you heard my conversations, there's probably a flow. And so maybe there is some kind of, Bill's told me that before. He's like, you don't think you have systems, but you got systems. They're just natural for you. So you don't consider them systems because it's just you. And so there probably is some kind of duplication, if you will, to my conversations with people. But, you know, my primary thing is really just taking a genuine interest in them and listening to them, because, you know, I'll get people who call me and they may have already talked. I'm meeting with somebody. We're texting. We've got her pre-approved now, but I know she was working with an agent before, and that they just didn't take the time to listen to the person and really take a genuine interest in the person. I think that's a big part of the key and that's what goes back to what Matthew, I mean, this truly is, man. We are in a service-oriented business. This is a what can I do for you? How can I help you accomplish your goal? If I will take that attitude and approach to it, because not everybody's going to be able to buy a house. And okay, so yeah, I'm a busy guy. Yeah, I sell 70 or 80 houses a year, but but the reason that I sell 70 or 80 houses a year is I do it one at a time, because the person that I am most genuinely interested in is the person that's in front of me at any given moment, at any given point, or at least that's where I try to come from with each person I'm interacting with, is taking a genuine interest in them. And hey, man, how can I help this person? What can I do? And if they're not in a position to buy a house right now, how can I, you know, what can I do to you know, guide them in the right direction? And, you know, hopefully they'll come back to me if they're not in that position. Or, you know, I tell them all the time, you know, use me as a resource. Hey, if you got any questions at any time, I'll be happy to help you any way I can. So it's just really that service mindset.
And that's fantastic. Really quick, there's a comment from Gil on the questions and answers. He says, on my online leads, I first ask if they have an agent. Think many people just want info because they don't want to bother their agent. And, you know, that plays right into what you just said, Bart. So thanks, Gil, for that comment. All right, Matthew, let's hear from you on that one. Anything else you want to add?
What was the question?
I'm qualifying.
Qualifying leads?
Yes.
I just get them. I get them in the house.
Okay.
I get them in the house. It doesn't, you never know how the ripple effect is going to take place. You know what I mean? Like, they may not buy right now, but you may impress them. And then a year down the road, they may be talking to their friend about, oh, I've been looking for a real estate agent. And that person was, oh, well, this one time I talked to this guy and he was awesome. I mean, you just never know. I mean, that's what we're doing, is we're selling to people. We're selling ourselves to other people. And you never know how that's going to play out in the future. Right. So I just get them in there. I get them in there. And if turns out they have an agent and I wasted 30 minutes of my day, whoops, you know, it's.
Well, if they like their agent, they wouldn't be with you. That's one way to look at it, right?
And I hate to say this, but I've had realtor.com leads come in that I've met at the house, and I've impressed them so much that they left their other agent and came with me without saying or doing anything, you know, sideways or whatever. They were impressed and they left their other agent for me. So.
Very good. So really, lead response really can come from just the experience that you provide them. And that's so key with that. So let's talk about.
Let me add just one quick note to that. I usually do, when I get a text message from, when I get some type of engagement from like one of the sync leads, for example, that will usually be one of the first questions I ask them is, hey, have you selected an agent yet to help you buy? Or is there anyone in particular that you know you want to work with? Because I certainly don't want to end up in a situation where there's somebody else. You know, again, that kind of goes back to the golden rule. I try and, you know, find out, you know, is because if some other agent has invested, you know, whatever amount of time in the people, yeah, because there are some people like they don't want to bother their agent. They want to bother some agent they don't know because they're not sure if they want to buy yet or not. So, you know, but yeah, I do usually ask. So that's a good point that the gentleman shared in the chat.
For sure. So let's talk about CRM. You mentioned Commissions Inc. What do you use? Because ultimately you have to keep in touch with your database, because that whether they're online leads or not, that can also bring you future business. So you need tools and mechanisms to do that. So a CRM, what do you use? How do you use it? And do you use drip campaigns, or let us know what you do to stay in touch. So we'll start with you, Matthew.
CRM.
CRM and drip campaigns. Mm-hmm.
Well, we have sync and it automatically sets it up on a campaign. Automatically sets those people up on a drip campaign. As far as other CRMs go, like I have my phone that has all of my past clients' information in, and I have Facebook that I interact with their stuff all the time. But I was taught real estate from Bart Medlock, so
yeah,
I'll let him.
So you only get one shot to work with you too, right?
Yeah, you can get a couple shots to work with me.
That's funny. So Bart, share with us what you do with your CRM.
I use, well, once I close with a client, they automatically go on to my Sensations mailing list. So once a month, they're going to get a calendar, a person, and the one that I use is first, their last name on it. If you go onto the Sensations, I do recommend, and I don't care whether you use Sensations or not, I do recommend you use some type of monthly follow-up with your client, because that has paid pretty big dividends for me. I mean, last year, for example, I had met with this guy and he wasn't a past client. I had just met with him and his wife about selling this little, I mean, it ended up being a disaster of a property for $35,000, $40,000 that was just nasty. That, you know, I said, you know, there's not really much I can do to help you, you know, with this. I said, you know, so, and he said, well, but I added him to my mailing list. I just put him, and I normally wouldn't do that, but just in that situation, I added him onto my Sensations account. So for, you know, a year or two, he had been steadily getting my Sensations postcard. He calls me last year, and unfortunately, it's kind of a little bit of a sad story, but his wife had committed suicide in their home. They had a nice log home that he had a total of about 15 acres. He had built this huge detached, I mean, like a 40 by 50 shop with, you know, 16-foot ceilings. And I mean, it was really nice property. You know, we ended up listing it, I think, for around $400,000. The moral of that story is I ended up being a dual agent in that deal, and the people who ended up buying that property, I ended up listing their home that they were selling in order to buy this. So, you know, and that lead initially came in as a $35,000 crap listing that I didn't end up taking, but because for whatever reason, and that's where the universe takes care of me, if you will, in spite of myself. You know, I just put him on my Sensations mailing list, and bada bing, bada boom, you know, and it, so.
Well,
that is a good example of how my real estate career has gone for the most part, falling uphill.
Being in the right place at the right time and all that. So so Sensations is an online tool. We're talking about online leads, but yet it generated a lead, even though it's technically a direct mail piece. Yeah. So that's what's good about it. So let's talk a little bit about seller leads. I know that most of you can agree you're going to get most of your seller leads from referrals, sphere of influence, and that sort of thing. But occasionally you're going to get some random seller leads. Someone's going to go to your website, fill out the seller questionnaire that you have. They're going to fill out a home valuation form. Tell us what your approach is with those type of seller leads. And maybe that was earlier in your career, Bart. So let's start with you, Bart.
Well, I mean, just this year with the sync leads have I really had a seller valuation tool, and I get an F- for my follow-up with those type of leads that have come in through sync. I just have not, you know, I have not invested the time. I mean, it's stupid. It's stupid. Why am I spending $1,000 a month to not like follow up on that stuff? Matthew's getting some sync leads, and he's following up with them better and more than what I am, I'm sure. I think I probably ought to give him a hard time about that. But no, you know, most of my, because in the question that you had sent me, most of my seller leads that come in are warm leads, if you will. So I tell you what, Michelle, how about you have another like Tech Tuesday thing and send me an invite, because I need to be in the audience for that particular question. But if I can get an opportunity to get in front of people, whether they, if they don't know me, and if I can get an opportunity to get in front of them, get in the house, I pretty high percentage, I'm going to walk away with that listing.
Right. I understand. So that's good. But occasionally, yeah, it's something I think everyone's exploring. Matthew, any comments on just brand new seller leads, people you don't even know? Nope, nothing to add on that. He says no. All right.
Listen to that guy. He'll tell you all the secrets.
Okay, sounds good. So obviously then all the realtor.com leads that you do so well with are buyer leads. So we can all pretty much assume that. So Tanner's saying, for online leads, do you usually explain that you are not the listing agent upon first contact, but would like to work with them as a buyer's agent? I find that many people don't understand the difference and think because you responded that you are the listing agent. So that's a really good point. So Bart, could you answer that one?
Matthew, like, he deals more the .com leads than I do. He's using those exclusively, but my approach would be, if they bring it up, then we can have, but I mean, if I meet them at the house and there happens to be another sign in the yard and they're like, oh, you're not the listing agent. I mean, if I need to tell them, no, that guy who's signing the yard, that's the agent who the seller has hired to exclusively represent their interests. Typically in this day and age, there are going to be two agents involved in any transaction. There's going to be one agent who's exclusively representing the buyer and the buyer's interest, and the agent whose name is on the sign in the yard is who the seller handpicked to pick them to represent their interests. Can you have limited or dual agency? Yeah, you can, and you can debate whether or not that is in the best interest of all the parties. And I believe that is very situational. In some instances, there may be arguments, particularly in a competitive market like this, there may be benefits, but I can tell you, I just had 3 days ago, last week, for the first time ever in my career, and I've done a handful, it's a very low percentage, but I've done a handful of dual agency deals, probably out of the 70 or 80 per year. It's less than 10 where I'm a dual agent. But literally the other day, I had a client, for no other reason than dual agency, didn't want to accept the offer from the buyer that I brought to the table. And the buyer that I brought to the table was clearly the strongest buyer. And so they're like, well, no, Bart, we're just not comfortable. I'm like, and I mean, I don't have time to give you all the details, but it just blew my, because it truly was not in their best interest. And they just, it's not like I was trying to get them to take a lower offer from my client than we ended up with, I think, 9 offers on that property. It's not like I was trying to get them. I mean, I clearly had the strongest buyer, who we ended up countering one of the offers from the buyer that they chose to work with, because the highest offer we had was an FHA buyer and they weren't real comfortable with that. They wanted closing costs and concessions. So anyway, but it was the craziest thing I've ever dealt with.
Sounds like it.
Yeah, it was nuts. So.
And just a quick note to everyone on Remax.com, and I hear from a lot of you that say, why did I get a lead on another Remax agent's listing? Does that mean I'm not getting my own listing leads? Keep in mind that once you're assigned a client, they can inquire on any listing on Remax.com. This would include non-Remax listings. This would include Remax listings. Because they're assigned to you or you're the preferred buyer's agent, those lead inquiries will come to you. Another reason you might get leads on another Remax agent's listing that's not yours is because that original person missed it in the first hour. So I just want to make sure everyone knows, this is for everyone across the country. That is the lead rules on Remax.com. You must accept that listing lead within an hour or it is going to get reoffered. So there's a lot of instances similar to what Tanner brought up. So thank you. Matthew, are there any more comments on that? What do? You get all the buyer leads, and does anyone ever ask you, well, you're not the listing agent, so should I be coming to you anyway? Do you ever get that?
Yeah, absolutely. They're just misinformed, right? So I sell them on the fact that the listing agent represents the seller in the seller's best interests. And it's counterintuitive for me or for the listing agent to represent the buyer because they have the seller's best interest and trying to sell the home for the most amount of money, where I'm trying to get, or for the best deal, and I'm trying to get the home for them for their best deal, and it's just conflicting interests there. So just a little bit of education. But what I'll say about the online leads, the main thing that I want to say is get in front of them, right? Get them in the house to get in front of them. Like the houses sell themselves, right? I'm trying to sell, what I sell is myself and my services. So that's probably the biggest thing.
That's the takeaway. All right. So everyone, we're starting to wrap up. Any questions or comments, please let us know. I'm sure that Bart and Matthew will be happy to answer those for you. But let's go ahead and let's just talk a little bit about what advice would you give to those, and I've heard this. I've actually had some of your peers walk up to me after a training class and say, I don't even care about online leads. My whole business is sphere of influence, or, you know, I don't care. I just ignore those, or I miss those. What advice would you give to those individuals about what they should do with online leads? So Bart, start with you.
I mean, I wouldn't necessarily, I wouldn't dismiss regardless of the source, you know, and this goes to a fundamental idea that I have about life and about the universe. The universe, karma, God, higher power, or whatever, is going to give me any number of opportunities in life. And for me to sit here and predetermine which source those opportunities are going to come from, I believe is just very narrow-minded. You know, I need to take whatever opportunities I'm given, and, you know, whether it's an online lead or whether it's somebody who asked me a question at the gas station because they see my SUV that I'm pumping gas into, whether it's somebody who I engage a conversation with at a Little League baseball game, you know, maybe you're fortunate enough to say, no, I'm only going to work with these particular set of, and if that's your case, man, look, that's your cup of tea. That's your cup of tea, man. No qualms from me. I'm just saying that philosophy doesn't work for me. The philosophy that works for me is, you know, being really open-minded to how broad this deal is and looking at anything that presents itself to me as a potential opportunity and not just necessarily for business, but to form a relationship with another human being to see, you know, what's God got in store for me today, man. And that's, you know, hopefully I kind of maintain a childlike attitude about the world and this universe and just kind of stay amazed by it all, if you will, and say, hey, yeah, let's rock and roll, baby. Hey, what kind of roller coaster are we getting on today? Let's do this. So.
Right. No, that's fantastic. So a couple other questions for you, Bart, and then we'll go to you, Matthew. So a lot of discussions are had. I've had a lot of your peers say to me in particular, and I've just hear in general, well, I don't do rentals or I don't do commercials, so I don't talk to those people. Can you talk about what you've done in the past with leads of those type that may not necessarily be your specialty or in your wheelhouse? What is the best thing to do and best advice you could give your peers on those?
I do try, and like I've got about 4, because I mean the rental market is virtually impossible to find. I mean, it's so competitive. I wish I had about 10 rental properties. I could fill them up by 5 o'clock. I have about 3 sources, but because that is not a market that I have focused on or tried to cultivate or done anything. But again, in trying to be prepared to provide some type of service to those folks, I do have, there are about 3 different phone numbers and names of people that I know in the rental market that I will share that information with. Say, hey, I don't have anything available for my, you know, the concrete that I know of, but you might check these resources to see what they might have available for you.
Sure, I like that. And that's the thing, it's
you can't be everything to everybody. There's no question about that. You can't, you know, you can't be everything to everybody. So
for sure. And that's where you lean into the power of the Remax network, because there are Remax agents that will take on a rental client. There are plenty of commercial practitioners in the Remax network. And guess what? It's an opportunity for a referral. and a renter may be in a position to buy next year. And that's, I'm sure Bart has had success stories over the years in those realms too. So Matthew, since you handle all the realtor.com leads, you probably see everything. And I'm sure you get the Remax leads as well. So what would you like to share with us on all of that?
I don't get any Remax leads. Where are they at?
Those are going.
Like some though. Send some my way.
Well, we're going to talk about setting up your website and getting you set up for those leads after this.
Cool.
Yeah.
If somebody asks me, I learned the hard way to focus on what I know and focus on what I'm good at. So if someone asks me about a rental, if they need a rental, I have one really good resource that I send them to, that's in our office. Same thing with commercial. It's the same guy. And I'm sure Bart probably will use the same guy too. But I also will refer him to like Marketplace or something like that. I tried with every person that I interact with, I try to figure out how I can be of service to that person. Now, and maybe what I know and what I have as far as my expertise and my knowledge base isn't going to be what's best for them. So I'll just refer them to somebody else. I mean, I stick to what I know, and that's about all I got.
Awesome. Matthew, did you want to share anything on your Instagram account before we wrap up?
Yeah.
Okay.
How do I do that?
So share your screen on the bottom. There's a green folder.
Okay.
And make sure you check the box that says share sound if you're going to play a video. To the far left. I can always pull it up too if you need me to.
Yeah, that's cool. I got it.
Then in the bottom left corner, it says share sound. There you go.
Cool.
Okay, well, that's your YouTube. Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
You can go to Instagram.
The thing is up top, and hang on, I got you.
Yeah.
I got it. Give me a second.
And we did this, I believe it was last week, everyone. You can pull up Instagram on your desktop. I haven't tried TikTok. I'm guessing you can't pull up TikTok on desktop. Maybe you can. But it's somewhat limited, but you can still see everything. And I think you're going to have some new followers after this, Matthew.
Yeah, follow me on Instagram at The Fittest Realtor. Follow me on Facebook at Matthew Henegar or Matthew Henegar Realtor at The Fittest Realtor.
Sweet. So what are you going to show us today?
I'm going to show you the real estate vigilante, you were trying to show.
On TikTok, yeah. There we go.
Can you see it?
Yes.
All right, check her out.
In a world gone crazy with COVID-19, one real estate agent will take matters into his own hands to not only stop the spread of the virus, but to kick its ass. Or he'll just wear his face mask and gloves to help stop the virus and to keep him and his clients safe. In a world gone crazy with COVID-19, one real estate agent will take matters into his own hands to not only...
There you go.
So is that you in the background? That's your voiceover?
Correct.
Okay, awesome. So that's fantastic. It's a great way to, I mean, yeah, you're being sensitive to the pandemic, but at the same time, it's keeping things light because I think people need that right now. Everything's so dark and sad in a lot of cases. So that's awesome. That's fantastic. And someone's going to see that and go, wow, this guy, he's got a personality. He's going to be fun to work with. We have to move right now. We can't help it. The pandemic's going on. So we might as well have fun while we're doing it.
Exactly.
Yeah, so good for you. That's awesome. Any last call for questions, everyone? Are we good? Let's see, anything on the chat? I don't see anything on the Q&A. All right, so any last words on online lead response? Bart, we'll start with you.
You know, don't do what I do. Follow up with them more than what I follow up with them. I mean, quite frankly, you know, when you initially brought this up to me, I was like, Michelle, what you want me to tell him what not to do? You know, Matthew's, I think Matthew's probably better at it than I am. He's certainly faster. You know, he's a single guy, young, go-getter. I got a wife and kids. I coach baseball. I cook dinner, you know, so I wish I could respond to all of them, you know, within 30 seconds. So, but yeah, he'll crush you.
Great. Matthew, what would you like to say to all your Remaxers out there to wrap this up?
Don't chase, replace.
Boom. That's the quote of the webinar. I love it. All right, everyone. Thanks for joining us for this Tech Tuesday series. Thank you so much, Bart and Matthew. You guys were awesome. I had a great time. And this was recorded. Look for it on our YouTube channel. And we'll be back in the fall with a lot more topics for Tech Tuesday. Thanks, everyone. Have a great summer. Happy 4th. Be safe. Be well.
Bye.